This is Immigrant Podcast with Robinson.
Welcome, everybody, to the Immigrant Podcast. I'm happy to have Taras with me again. As we mentioned, Taras is going to be a very important part of this podcast during our second season. Taras, welcome back.
Good morning, Robinson. How are you today?
Doing awesome. It's a great day. How are you?
I'm great. I'm very excited to share some more important information with our listeners.
Awesome. And today's topic is crucial to everybody. It doesn't matter what your income is. I think budgeting, and that's the topic we're going to be covering today, is critical to all. So let's get started. And I would say, how much do you think should a family save from earned income?
The amount a family should save from their earned income will depend on various factors such as their financial goals, their expenses, and their lifestyle. Me personally, I always say pay yourself first. You know, pay yourself before any of the other bills because the most important thing is you and your family. So set aside a fixed amount or a percentage of what you earn. Usually it's between 15 and 20% of your income. That's a rule of thumb that most people use. The Wealthy Barber, David Chilton's book says 10%. I don't think that's enough, especially if you got specific goals in mind, whether it's a new car, a home purchase, a family vacation, a child's education, retirement, general savings. I think it's important that you do start by paying yourself first. Ultimately, the amount of money that the family should save will depend on your individual circumstances. Like I've just explained, whatever type of financial goals you have, from the money that you earn, you have to save that portion. It's a great idea that families create a budget and track their spending in order to determine how much money they can realistically save each and every month.
And if out of a single income that's not enough, as you said, maybe 10% is too low, and we should aim to save 15 to 20%. There are always, in the world that we live in, opportunities to get extra income to compensate for that lack of that 5% or 10% that we need to add to it, right?
Correct. What I see a lot of my clients, they've got two or three kids. There's never stuff for savings, but if they do get bonuses at work, what we try to do is we put that right into their savings plan. So it bypasses their checking account or savings account, and we have the employer write a check directly to the investment firm. So that way it bypasses the client altogether and they don't even see it. So if they don't see it, they're not missing it.
Correct. What you don't see doesn't hurt. That's what they say.
Correct. So
Very
that's
good.
that's why it's really important, like setting up a pre-authorized checking account to your savings account. And we'd be happy to help you guys how to do that. So as soon as you get paid, the money comes in, the money goes out, you don't see it. So that's, 10 or 15% of your earned income is directly saved for you and your family.
And that's a great way. So we understand that creating this family budget is very important. Could you give us some steps on how to accomplish that?
Sure. Determine your income. Calculate your total income, household income, including your salary, your bonuses, and any other sources of income, such as rental income, child support, and government benefits. So we talked a little bit about government benefits in the last podcast, talking about taxes. So you should have a better idea now of what benefits that you are eligible for. Second
Correct.
thing is you have to track your expenses. Okay. Keep track of all your expenses. Okay. Your fixed income expenses, which are your mortgage, your rent, your car payments, your insurance. And then you have got your variable expenses, which are groceries, dining out, entertainment, spending money on sporting events or cultural events. make sure you keep track of all of those. Thirdly, you can group your expenses into categories. We've talked about mortgage or rent, so it's housing, transportation, whether it's a car, whether it's public transportation, Ubers, Lyft, taxis. Thirdly, food. Okay, whether you're just eating at home or if you're using restaurants. Next is utilities, right? How much you pay for electricity, telephone, internet, debt payments. If you have any debt, okay, part of your income has to go to service your debt and just start paying that off. And last but not least, but like I said, your savings. And that's what you should start with. Start with your savings. And that way, you're going to be paying yourself first. You have to prioritize your expenses. Okay. We just talked about saving. Okay. Determine which of your expenses are essential and which are discretionary, meaning, do you really need to go to that restaurant on Friday and Saturday night? Or is it better to just cook a home cooked meal? So you have to prioritize what is important to you. Your essential expenses are predetermined, like what they are, so you can put those in your budget right away.
Correct.
You don't have to worry too much about those because they're fixed. Where you can work on your budget is always your discretionary spending, like we just explained, going to a restaurant, um, going to a sporting event or a cultural or a concert. Do you need to do it or do you want to do it? Most people, it's a want, it's not a need. Set your financial goals, right? Set your short-term and long-term financial goals, such as paying off your debt, saving for a down payment on a home, and building an emergency fund. I always try to tell my clients that you should have between 3 and 6 months of your expenses in an emergency fund. So if your car breaks down and you need repairs, where is that money going to come from? Is it going to just come from your credit card and then you're going to be paying a high interest rate to pay off the debt? Doesn't make sense. So try to build up an emergency fund that could be used in a high interest savings account, money market fund, something secure that you have access to. Then what we have to try to do is allocate your income. Okay. Allocating your income to each expense and prioritize your goals and make sure that you always have a savings component to your budget.
Good.
Is this something that is set in stone? Obviously not. It's always in a state of flux. It's always moving. You always have to review and adjust it. It's something that is not always going to be the same every month. You're going to have extra expenses. You're going to have a little bit of extra income one month. You might get paid. If you're getting paid weekly, sometimes you have 5 weeks in a month instead of 4. So you're always adjusting to that. As you track your spending and compare it to your budget, you can see if you're on track to meet your goals. Now, some people say, well, how do I create a budget? How do I do it? Well, there's many different budgeting tools online. There's apps that you can use. You can use an Excel spreadsheet to be able to track your income and expenses. And this is a great way to stay on top of your budget.
Yes, that's correct. And well, planning a budget, getting the budget ready, it's an amazing first step. But I think more importantly, we should talk about how to stick to that budget. And for sure, that's going to require a lot of discipline. So what would you say are the steps or the ideas for people to be able to stick to it?
Well, first and foremost, Robinson, it's got to be realistic. If you set something that's unrealistic, you're not going to do it. So it's got to be a realistic budget that you can stick to it. Make sure you consider your income, your expenses, and your savings goal when setting your budget. Some people say, well, I want to get this, I want to get that. Well, it's not always possible. So don't do something that's unrealistic. Make sure you track all of your spending and you're staying within your budget. And like I said, you can use a spreadsheet or a budgeting app to help this make it easier for you. Prioritize your spending. Okay. Focusing on your essential expenses first, such as housing, food, and transportation. Then allocate money for discretionary spending, such as entertainment and hobbies. The other thing some people like to do is use cash, okay, instead of their debit cards or their credit cards. I highly recommend that you have allocated X number of dollars per week for your discretionary spending. And if you start on a Monday and by Friday it's all gone, well, it's all gone. You can't spend more.
So it sounds to me like the envelope approach to budgeting.
Correct. So if your envelope is empty, there's nothing left in it, there's nothing left to spend. Also, try to avoid impulse purchases. Okay. Impulse purchases are, as an example, when you go to Costco with a grocery list, stick to the list. Costco is notorious to try to get you to spend more and more money. So stick to your list, stick to your what you went there for. Do not go out and buy, oh, that's really cool. It's only $19.99. I'll spend that as well. If it's not in your budget, if it's not on your list, don't buy it. Um, the other things, just review it, check month to month to see how you're doing. If you're overspending on certain category, adjust your budget accordingly. Like I said, it's always available to be in flux. If you figure that, okay, gas prices have gone up and you need more money for gas money, well, you have to adjust that, but it's got to come from somewhere. It doesn't come out of thin air.
Correct.
Now, the most important thing is be patient. Be patient with your budget. Sticking to your budget takes time and patience. Don't get discouraged if you slip up occasionally. It happens to everyone. Just learn from your mistakes and keep working towards your financial goals.
Yeah, that's true. And we know that if we're able to stick to that budget, which definitely we mentioned requires a lot of commitment and discipline, we're going to be able to achieve our financial goals. But it's never easy to save, and sometimes we tell ourselves that there's not enough for savings. What are some of the strategies people could use to achieve those saving goals that you can talk about?
Well, I've mentioned this right from the beginning. Pay yourself first. Okay.
Yeah,
That is the most important thing on any savings plan, any investment plan is within your budget. If you pay yourself first, you're going to have that emergency fund. You're going to start having a savings. You're going to have money that's going to be extra discretionary income later in life, later in down the road, down the timeline. Set your goals. Okay. What do you really want to accomplish from this? Okay. Are you the type of person that at the end of the month, you're going to save whatever is left? Well, I always say, pay yourself first, set up that plan where, like I said, it's in the budget. And set it up to be automatic directly out of your account each month, each week, however you get paid is the best way. So if you get paid on Thursday, have that money come out of your account on Friday. If you're getting paid every second Thursday or the 15th and the 30th of each month, then you make sure that you set up the payments for the 16th and the 1st. So that money is being saved directly. So that's how you can automate it. Now, some people are struggling to save, start with small amounts and gradually increase them over time. For example, start by saving $10 a week, increase it to $20 a week once you're more comfortable. If you're more comfortable with higher numbers, use those higher numbers. You can always decrease or increase how much you save.
it's really all about creating the habit.
Correct. And if you start the habits young, the habits stay with you for life. And it's very, very easy to see how quickly money grows over time. That'll be another topic for another podcast, but the more money you start younger at an earlier age, and if you're dollar cost averaging, you're going to have more money at the end than if you were to just do lump sum deposits. Now, most importantly, when we're budgeting, if you've got debt, if you've got car loans or credit card debts, you've got to take steps to reduce your debt, paying off your debt as quickly as you can so you can free up more money to put towards savings and or other discretionary spendings. Meaning, if you are really wanting to do a trip, whether that's a vacation, whether it's going home to visit parents or relatives or a wedding of a relative, set up that discretionary spending. Don't depend on your credit card. Don't use your credit card to pay for things if you don't have the money. It's kind of like when years ago, stores would put the item you wanted to buy on layaway. So you would set up a payment plan, and once you finished your payment, then you get the item. Our problem with our society nowadays, it's I want it now. So I am going to get it, regardless of whether it's going to hurt me financially. And I'm going to be paying 19 or 20% interest on my credit card. Um, don't do it. If you don't have the money, don't buy it. There are certain things in life that we can live without. And me personally, that's what I have to try to through to my clients and say, is it a want or is it a need? Usually it's a want. So those wants you can wait for until you actually have the money to purchase it. Cut expenses, right? Look at ways to reduce your monthly expenses, such as cutting cable or switching to a cheaper cell phone plan. Those are just some of the things. Eat out not as often. If you're eating out 2 or 3 times a week, or if you're eating out every lunch hour as opposed to bringing your own lunch, or if you're going to Starbucks every day. There's people that go to Starbucks at $4 or $5 a coffee. Maybe bring your coffee with you. Get your own espresso machine or Keurig machine, or just brew it your own. That's a great way of saving money because spending $4 or $5 on a coffee every day. There's $25 a week when you probably could have spent $5, $1 a day on a coffee. So you've saved $20. There's $160 a month. Another way, like we discussed before, is increasing your income. Okay. Consider taking a side job on the side or do some freelance work to earn extra money, and that can be put towards savings. Remember,
Cor-
Robinson, the most
Correct.
important thing is achieving your financials achieve your financial goals. You have to be consistent and disciplined in your savings habits. It may take time and effort because we will all fail at certain things, but the whole idea is to get back at it right away. And with the right strategies and mindset, you can achieve your financial goals by setting up a proper budget right from the beginning. And that is why we are there to help you in setting up your financial plan.
Exactly. So, Taras, we made it to the end of this podcast today. A lot of great information. I hope that the listeners apply some of these concepts. We're not asking for them to apply all of them together. It's not that easy. It takes time, as you've said. It takes discipline and commitment, but it is achievable. Any last word to the audience?
Don't give up. It's sounds like a tedious process, but once you've done it and you accomplish it, um, you feel good about yourself that you've got a better grip of what's going on with your finances. So by doing it for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and see, you can look back and say, oh man, how come I spent so much on this? You can find a lot of money in what you're earning and what you're spending on just by doing a budget. So good luck to everyone. I'm sure you'll all be successful, and the sky is the limit. Good luck to all of you.
Thank you very much. And we're going to add Tara's information in the description of this podcast. So thank you everyone for joining, and until the next podcast. Bye-bye.
This was I'm Migrant Podcast with Robinson.